welcome to the Stadium Journey podcast. When you're done listening to us here, remember, wear your mask and act responsibly when you're out in public. And our thoughts go out to our fans and our listeners out in Beirut, Lebanon right now. I don't know if you guys saw what happened over there today. I don't know if we have listeners in Beirut, but, we might. Stadium Journey's got reviews in 31 different countries, so it's possible. After you listen to the podcast tonight, don't forget to go to our website, stadiumjourney.com. We're on social media. You can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram. Just check us out at Stadium Journey. And the Stadium Journey podcast is proud to be part of the VOC Nation Radio Network. I almost called them something else just now.
Don't do that.
I was called the Rock Radio Network.
The Rock Radio Network. AFF.
WVOC.
WVOC is good. Yeah, I like that.
To find our podcast, simply search VOC Nation on your podcast aggregator, or you can find our library of video podcasts on our YouTube channel, Stadium Journey. We simulcast all of our podcasts live, and some of you are there right now at twitch.tv/DanLaw83. And you can find every podcast we've ever recorded on the Stadium Journey website itself. Just look under the podcast link on the menu. And joining me tonight, as always, is Dave Cotney. You can follow him at ProFan9. Mark Viquez is on your social media channels at Ballpark Hunter. You can follow our producer, Dan Calachico, the above-average comedian, at DanLaw83. I'm Paul Baker. You can follow me at PuckmanRI. And hey, for the first time in months, guys, we're recording tonight without a guest. It's just us. It's intimate. It's special.
I'm the guest, technically. I haven't been on the show since.
That's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Yeah, Mark, you were on a podcast a couple weeks ago, and the guy commented, said, you guys got great chemistry on your show. So
yeah, that's nice to hear.
It was nice to hear. That was a nice podcast, by the way. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I don't remember who it was, but I enjoyed it. You can give him a shout if you remember.
Yeah, it was Mike Sappho. He's a Yankee fan and a Kentucky Wildcat fan.
Oh, never mind. Cancel that.
Yankee fan. I take back every nice thing I ever said about him.
Yeah,
sorry, Mike.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a New York guy, so.
He sure sounded like a New York guy, man, when that podcast started. Like,
yeah, it was like, let me tell you something. When I drive by Yankee Stadium, I'm like,
hey, Mark Viquez, why don't you tell us about that?
I need a knish. Yeah. So yeah, he was good. I like the questions too. Kind of rapid fire, not your normal questions. So.
And now you've assured you'll never be invited back on ever again.
No, I learned a little bit about him. Actually, he has his podcast is pretty. He's got some good guests too, like Howard Johnson of the New York Mets.
The guy that opened the
30-30 guy.
Hotels?
I was thinking of Howard Johnson, the hotel magnate.
Yeah, I was thinking the Met slugging third baseman of the late '80s, early '90s.
The Howard Johnson hotel chain got to start in Quincy, Massachusetts.
Oh.
Which you would know if you ever read the Boston Cannons review on Stadium Journey. But anyway,
know that.
We digress. Our topic tonight is Halls of Fame. So we're going to talk about all our favorite Halls of Fame from the big sports, maybe down to the little ones, big ones, little ones, middle ones, you name it. So do any of you guys ever remember way back when, I don't know how far back this is, Stadium Journey, not Stadium Journey. I got Stadium Journey on your brain. Not a bad thing. Seeing we're doing what we're doing. Sports Illustrated did an article on Interstate 90. If you follow Interstate 90 from one end of the country to the other, you are never further than like 2 hours from any of the big halls of fame. Think about it. You start in Boston, you drive across. Basketball Hall of Fame is in Springfield, right off of Route 90.
That is right
on. If you go through New York, the weightlifting Hall of Fame is in upstate New York somewhere, right off I-90. But the Hockey Hall of Fame, how long does it take to get from Buffalo to Toronto, Dave?
2
hour and a half, 2 hours.
Hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah. So there you go. You go through Football Hall of Fame is in Canton. Oh, no, we forgot the Baseball Hall of Fame, which is probably an hour south of I-90 in New York. And football is in Canton, which is maybe a half an hour south of I-90. So it's pretty funny to think that they're all on this corridor. But anyway, let's talk about some of the ones we've been to. We can start, obviously, with the big four. Those are probably the most traveled ones. I have been to 3 of the big four. I've been to baseball, football, and basketball. I don't know. How about you guys?
4.
I've been to all 4. 4.
All right. So let's start with the obvious question. Which ones were your favorites?
Cooperstown, by far, blows them all away. And I think just because of its small town setting, because when you get off the interstate, I'm trying to think what interstate that is down there.
88.
88, you go north, and it's a 2-lane highway. You go through small little towns. It's very hilly and curvy. Takes you about a good 20 minutes to get up there.
Last
So
time I
it's
went there,
not-
my GPS took me on a dirt road. I kid you not.
Yeah. No, I can believe that. It's just you're like, really, the Hall of Fame's up here? Are you kidding me? If you're a little bit naive. But once you get there, you get to this magical town where everything centers around baseball. You have baseball card shops, paraphernalia shops, baseball-themed stores, old taverns that look like they've been there since the Revolutionary War. It's just such a picturesque place. I've been there 3 times, and I've enjoyed it every single time I've been there. And I really can't say that about the other Halls of Fame. Not that all of them are bad, but just Cooperstown is, to my personal opinion, the best.
Something
Well, how
special
does
about the
how does it compare to the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta that Lloyd Brown wants us to talk about?
We'll get there. I actually had another. It's not Atlanta. I've heard the College Football Hall of Fame is gorgeous. I have been to another Southern Hall of Fame, but we were talking about the big ones first.
Yeah, the big ones.
So hold your horses.
I
Lloyd.
just didn't want to get yelled at by Lloyd again.
He's having a good laugh.
He's going to Lloyd at
He
you.
offered to
He's
take.
going to Lloyd at
He
you. He's
offered
going
to
to yell
take
at you
me
anyway.
there. Yeah, he offered to take me there when I was in Atlanta a couple years ago, but I said no. Looking back, maybe I should have taken him up on his offer. Next time, Lloyd, when I'm down there.
The College Football Hall of Fame's got a giant, when you come in, doesn't have like a giant wall of every college football helmet? I mean, that alone for me would be worth the
Oh,
price.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
no,
What's your
Mark, it's interesting because I agree with everything you said, and it's interesting because you weren't talking about the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Heritage Museum. You're talking about Cooperstown, which everybody does. Everybody says Cooperstown. It's Cooperstown.
yeah.
Nobody says, well, I'm going to Toronto. Maybe some people say Canton or Springfield or whatever, but really,
Canton, yeah.
Really Cooperstown as a town is baseball, all encompassing. If it was ever possible to finagle a ticket and have everyth so it wasn't absolutely crazy for induction weekend, it would be really a magical place. I've been doing plenty of reading lately, and in the Pete Rose book that I read, talked about Pete Rose going to Cooperstown and making appearances on induction weekend. Brad Balukjian in the Wax Pack, he actually went to meet. Well, meet might be a little bit of a stretch, but he went to intercept Carlton Fisk at a signing in Cooperstown. And you're right, but it's funny, everything that you talked about. I mean, you didn't even set foot inside the museum.
Nothing about the
You didn't
museum,
say
yeah.
one thing about inside the museum. Now, I like I said, I agree with everything you said about the town of Cooperstown. It's really kind of magical. I'm sure there are people there that do some things other than having to do with baseball. I don't know what it is. I think they have a hospital, but it's like that kind of place, right? But the museum itself is also, it's really kind of neat. It sort of reminds me back to when we talked about movies, and there's just something romantic about baseball, more so than hockey and basketball and whatnot. But the museum itself, I enjoyed greatly, and I think the enshrinement area where they have all the inducted people would be my second favorite spot. My favorite spot would be the Hockey Hall of Fame for that, just because of its location. But yeah, I would say that Cooperstown is probably the top of the 4.
What's the setup at the Hockey Hall of Fame for the inductees?
So
Like
Part of
for
it-
those, sorry, Dave, 1 second. So for those of you who haven't been to the Baseball Hall of Fame, all the inductees have plaques in this giant room. It looks like a cathedral, looks like a church. You walk in and there's year by year up on the walls plaques of every player, and so it's a gigantic room. They're actually starting to run out of room, so I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
what are they doing in hockey?
In Toronto at the Hockey Hall of Fame, it starts with the building. So the building was an old bank. So the vault is what they call the Great Hall, which is upstairs, and they have all of the inductees around on. Some of them are on the walls. Some of them are on like temporary, almost like temporary wall displays that are sort of in the middle because there's not enough wall. But what I think is amazing about it is that aside from all of the things in there, of all the people, you can also see the Vezina Trophy, the Norris Trophy, the Calder Trophy, the Masterton Trophy, and of course they have the Stanley Cup there. Whether or not it's the real one or the replica one I think it all depends on what time you get there. But as you are waiting to get your picture with the Stanley Cup, which is something that everybody does, you can look at all of those inductees. And of course, like in all of the other ones, they have like the virtual display now too. So if you're looking for someone specific, you just hit like the giant iPad, click, 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 and you can find where they are. In the old vault spot, they have like the original Stanley Cup. So the cup that is very small.
Yeah.
And then, of course, one of the things that's unique about the Stanley Cup is if you are on a winning team, you get your name engraved on the cup. Well, of course, that doesn't last forever. So all of the rings that have been taken out of circulation are also in that area. So it's probably the least interactive of the Hockey Hall of Fame, but it's really the kind of enshrinement part, and it puts it all together there. And the Stanley Cup being that much bigger and more prestigious trophy than, I don't even have the foggiest clue what the baseball trophy is called.
Commissioner's Trophy.
Okay. And
Yeah.
they manufacture
That's what it's
one of those every year, right? Like it's not the same one that gets used over and over. So,
like Vince Lombardi and
Just
Larry O'Brien.
a sidebar. You mentioned the commissioners.
And the APCO Cups there.
Can we all agree that the Baseball World Series trophy is the ugliest thing I've ever seen?
And it looks like it will break.
Like, hey, look, you have a guest star.
Oh,
We do. We have a guest host today.
I don't hate it, but I would agree that it's probably, if you compare the top four, but Stanley Cup is by far superior.
I was going to say, we could. Do we
don't
agree
eat
that
that.
the Stanley Cup is probably the best, or do you guys have a different?
and for the same reason, like you talk about, like we were talking about, you say the Baseball Hall of Fame, we don't talk about it like that. We call it Cooperstown. The playoffs in hockey, it's really the only one where you say it's the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's not the Vince Lombardi game or the Larry O'Brien series or anything like that. You're playing for the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, Stanley Cup
there's
playoffs.
a couple other trophies, but not that are similar, but not in the Big Four.
Yeah, no, like Grey Cup is kind of cool too.
Yeah, the Grey Cup, the Memorial Cup, even the Calder Cup.
Yeah, Boston one time had all the trophies in one place on a table, and the Stanley Cup just not only does it tower over all of them, it's cool. It's the only interactive trophy. I mean, you can take Stanley Cup and you can bring it to strip clubs, you can drink out of it. You can't do that with any of the other trophies. So yeah, it's just, to me, that's conversation.
When they had all the trophies in Boston on the table,
I know. Yeah. We all went to Fenway Park to look at it.
Come on, guys.
now we have a lacrosse trophy now. Maybe?
Yeah, now they have the
Hey,
Stanfield.
I heard the Steinfeld trophy is 60 pounds. Why did they make it so heavy?
That weighs a little more than I do.
Which
The
one is
Stanley
60
Cup is
pounds?
30. The
Seinfeld.
Trophy, the MLL trophy. The Stanley Cup itself is 35, and guys say it's surprised you by how hefty it is. You might like go to grab the trophy for 60 pounds, won't drop it. I'm sure
Well, it could be because they've learned from things like I think it was '07 when the Spokane Chiefs won the Memorial Cup and broke it into two pieces on the ice.
Didn't that happen to 2 soccer teams this year where they dropped trophies and like one was a crystal trophy?
I could see that. I know that
Well,
happened with like an indoor football team won the trophy and left the league. Oh no,
Remember
that was the ECHL Cup.
Yeah, somebody told us
I
that
was going
story.
to say, the ECHL Cup was at a strip joint, and they broke it.
Yeah, the Colorado Eagles, I think. Or
Yeah, it was the
I think
Eagles. And then
yeah.
they fought about who was going to get it back and who was going to get charged for it, so they just made
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah, screw you guys.
Oh,
Or like that
so-
commercial where the three guys they pull a cup out of the hotel room that had flowers in it, and they're just running around, champions, champion, and then they get this big entourage, everybody's falling.
Yeah.
It's just three guys, three guys in a cup.
All right, so where were we? Halls of Fame. Okay, so what do you guys think? I personally was really impressed when I went to the Football Hall of Fame, and they have all the busts of all the inductees.
That's nice.
I thought that was really cool. I mean, some of them look really creepy, but part of the fun was, hey, that looks just like him. That doesn't look a thing like him. I just thought there was this feeling when I walked in that room that I didn't get from the other Halls of Fame.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I just think the Football Hall of Fame as a whole is disappointing. I know Stephen Key and I, one of the writers on this website, we went there 2018, and that was the first time he had been there about 20 some years, and he's like, man, I remember this being better. And we did like the Hall of Fame bust. We did like walking in there, and you're right, you can hit, he's a Giants fan, so he's hitting his favorite Giant players. Of course, other than that, I mean, it was a huge disappointment. I thought that it was very lackluster. There was a little bit, there was history, but they could have done a lot more. And then they had these really goofy videos with Joe Namath in it. Now,
I was just going to mention that. Yeah.
I mean, there was this weird Joe Namath video that, it's Joe Namath being Joe Namath. But
they said, come on in, this is going to psych you up. And we sat there for 5 minutes and said, what the hell is this garbage?
It seems so out of place. And I think they had somebody playing Vince Lombardi.
Yeah, the guy from the Wonder Years.
Was it him, Dad Laura? I'm like,
what
what is this? This was stupid. And then they had this football card exhibit that just seemed to be just filler. It was this giant space of like 1955 Topps cards, and it looked cool, but after, 5 minutes, it's like, okay, next. That you didn't get that at the other Hall of Fames. And I'm sure there's a lot more stuff they can put into these Hall of Fames. They just need the space, and that's what they were planning for. We're going to have this, we're going to do this in a few years, that in a few years. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll go back there another 20 years, see how it is.
There is this doesn't count as the big sports. I know that, but there is a Monster Truck Hall of Fame. And the reason why the Monster – what?
Which is probably better than the one in Canton.
Well, I was about to say, it's called the International Monster Truck Hall of Fame. It's in Indiana, so you can go take a look at it.
Really?
Yes, it is, sir.
Okay.
And it's easy to win the Hall of Fame when you have the actual combatants in the Hall of Fame, which is these big-ass old monster trucks that they used to use sitting in this room on display. Most of them have been restored because a lot of them for the, late 70s, early 80s, mid to late 70s to the 80s, early 90s, older trucks.
Nice.
When it was
I just passed
competition.
I just passed it the other day. It's like north of Fort Wayne.
Yeah. So it's in Auburn, I guess.
Yeah, Auburn.
Yeah, and
nice.
I'd love to get out there, but as far as I know, it's a terrible comparison because it's monster trucks and then actual sporting competitions. But when you're talking about things to look at, the sport's literally sitting there in the building. It just always Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I went to the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte.
Exactly.
Which I am in no way, shape, or form a NASCAR fan, but I loved this museum. And the same thing that you were just saying, Dan, you walk into the lobby, and it's this giant spiral staircase, but it's got a diameter probably of about 50 feet. And you go up, and as you go up the ramp, cars from the beginning of NASCAR all the way through. So, you like Richard Petty's old number 43? There it is. You like Dale Earnhardt's black car? There it is. And you can see all these cars. And then after you go through all the display of all the cars, then you go into the museum at the top of the ramp.
Yeah.
And you work your way back down the ramp.
Yeah, there's other stuff on display there, but it's literally the main part of the Monster Truck Hall of Fame is this big-ass old garage warehouse thing with 5 or 6 trucks, and they'll switch them out. Every year they'll switch out another one and change it around, but it's like, I mean, there you go. Everything you want is actually there.
Yeah, here is the car that won the race. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Here's the first 4-link truck.
All right. Well,
All right, so for the Basketball Hall of Fame, did you guys go before they moved or after they moved?
I went before they moved, but I drove by it after they moved, and I should have stopped. I regret not stopping.
Okay. How about you, Dave?
I would think after because I don't remember it before.
The building now looks like a giant golf ball.
Giant basketball?
Yeah.
It looks like a golf ball to me. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I in the more modern version is when I had one.
I've been to both, so I can compare.
I'm sorry, has it moved within the last 10 years, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, because when I used to go up to Springfield, and I'm talking about like 20 years ago now, I used to go up to Springfield several times a year. And no, I never saw the Springfield AHL team at the time. I don't know why I made such a stupid decision. But whatever, that's for another discussion another time. But every time the train would start slowing down as you'd get into the Springfield station, the Amtrak, you'd see the Basketball Hall of Fame go by. Right there. And then one time did I say, I should really go to that. And I feel like a fool because it was right there and I never went.
Well,
We've all been there.
The basketball one, I thought, was it's more interactive than the other ones. I mean, they have an actual basketball court there. You can go and you can play a little hoops. They have little things where you could try to, you could do the agility test where you try to jump and see how high you can jump. And, when I was younger, I could jump. Now, if you can slide $1 bill under my feet when I jump, you've done something. But yet, we were just talking about the enshrinement galleries, and I think basketballs was the least impressive to me because it's
on like a balcony.
Yeah, it's kind of a mashup. They have plaques with their faces on them, if I remember right. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a mix of football and basketball, but I don't think it works as well as either one of them.
Yeah, and it's like if you think of that sort of giant golf ball sort of structure, it's kind of on the inside of the outside of that, right? So you're looking you can look down at the court and some of the interactive stuff while you're on this sort of walkway, on this like catwalk around, to be able to see the people who are enshrined. I mean, it was pretty lackluster, and I remember when we went, my wife and kids were like, "Can we go now?" Like, but this is the whole point.
That's sad.
This is why we're here. I at least need to find Dominique Wilkins on here.
Well, some things never change.
What do you mean we got to go now?
Go shoot some hoops. Daddy's going to look around.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's the we kind of touched on the big four. Have any of you guys been to any of the smaller, less notable Hall of Fames?
Well, since we were on the basketball one, what I would say is very similar. It's almost exactly the same as the Naismith Hall of Fame in Springfield. Without the enshrined members, was in Kansas City the College Basketball Experience, which might just be the only reason to go to the Sprint Center. It's still called the Sprint Center.
Yeah.
That very nice arena that has
no tenant.
Like, what was the last real tenant? Like, they had an arena football team there a few years ago.
They really
but same
never
sort of
had
thing, very interactive.
Now that's not
You know,
the
lots of
Kemper
that
Arena,
kind of
right?
stuff.
That's something that's new, right?
No, the
No.
Kemper Arena is a
Not
different.
in Kemper.
It's Kemper Arena's been redesigned for youth sports now. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
This is
I drove
modern.
by that one.
Yeah, so that one, like they're very similar. The college basketball experience. I mean, there are some displays very specifically about college basketball, but it's much more just, basketball interactive activities.
Said the last tenant, full-time tenant at it's now the T-Mobile Arena, the Sprint Center, was the Kansas City Command.
Yeah.
Arena
Sounds
football.
like an indoor football team.
Yeah, but they say they have the Big 12 men's basketball tournament there, but full-time tenant, it was the AFL.
Yeah, I think they have some college basketball there. Like I'm sure they'll bring in Kansas and Kansas State for a tournament.
Now they do the rodeo there too, according to this.
Oh, I love the rodeo. But yeah, very similar.
You were born in the wrong part of Canada. You should be from Calgary.
I've never been to the Calgary Stampede.
Hey, we've got a review of the Calgary Stampede on Stadium Journey.
Nice. I was there 25 years ago.
I did go to the rodeo in Colorado Springs. It was man, did we stick out like sore thumbs there?
Why is that?
Because we didn't have cowboy boots or cowboy hats, or like we just totally looked like city slickers. And it was one of these kind of small time rodeos where if you want to participate, you come and you fill out the waiver and you bring your horse and you participate.
BYOH, bring your own
some
horse.
guy comes up to me on a horse. He's like, "So is this your first time here?" Like, was it that obvious? Well, I hope you're having a great time. Actually, we did. We had a blast. It was a whole lot of fun.
The rodeos are. I've been to like small South Jersey rodeos, but I've never been to the major one. But there were always just people having fun with the cattle. Might have been a little bit. It's the early '90s, kind of a little bit of abuse going on, but.
Yeah, I saw the rodeo monkeys one time. Seriously, you never heard of the rodeo monkeys? Mark, you've had to have bumped into the rodeo monkeys before. In your travels? There's this
rodeo
guy,
monkey.
It's a promotion they do at minor league baseball parks. This guy's got a couple of, what are they called? Border collies?
They're dogs, right?
And a bunch of little capuchin monkeys, and they do, the monkeys ride the dogs and do tricks.
I know that guy.
I've never seen them in person, but I know who you're talking about, yeah.
I saw him in Hagerstown, Maryland.
Right? Yeah, Whiplash. That's his name. Yeah.
Whiplash. Yeah.
And after the game, I think he was probably getting some heat from animal rights activists or something. So he took the microphone at the end of the thing, and he broke down and cried, giving a speech to the crowd about how much he loves his animals and how well he treats them. It was, I had fun watching them. But
at the rodeo that I was at, one of the guys who does bull riding, his wife came on and started talking about how we're just looking at the animals incorrectly, and they're really treated like athletes. She actually talked about how they're treated like professional athletes. They are cared for medically, and they're given a strict diet and this and that and the other thing. It was a different perspective for sure. But how did we get on rodeo?
Yeah, we got way off track.
We always get way off.
You were talking about we were talking about the college basketball experience in Kansas City. Actually, the reason why I'm wearing a Kansas City Royals hat is for this vastly underrated Hall of Fame, which is in Kansas City, which is the Negro Leagues Hall.
Yes,
I've been there.
I agree with you.
And very nice museum.
Yeah, and it's on the same museum.
Yeah,
it's on the same ticket as the American Jazz Museum right beside it. So that was good.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's nice. One admission, you get to go to both. They're both fantastic.
Yeah.
If you visit Kansas City, definitely put that on your itinerary.
I want to spend hours.
And even the street that it's on looks like it's from the 40s.
19th and Vine. Yeah, they've got all the old fronts. They're like the old concert halls. This was the Jazz District.
Yeah.
Famous for the Kansas City Jazz.
I need to go.
Jazz movement, and it looks like it must have back in the 40s. It's fantastic.
It's not often that I remember things like this, but when we went, it was probably the hottest day I've ever experienced in life. And it wasn't muggy. It was just like desert hot. It was probably like I don't know, 45 degrees Celsius or something like it was
Dave, speak American.
ridiculously. I can't speak American.
What's
It
45
was damn
Celsius?
hot.
25 Celsius is about 80, right?
25, yeah, that's about what we got now. Something like that, yeah.
You
I
should
know the
say
formula.
45 degrees Celsius.
Something like that.
It was 113 degrees Fahrenheit.
That sounds hot.
The conversion is
Wow,
9/5 plus
that's
32.
ridiculously
I know
hot.
that. Yeah, 9/5 plus 32.
That's,
Or to-
I'm not going outside degrees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or to go the other way, it's 5 9
Yeah.
minus 32.
Oh my
But
God.
great experience in there. I think it's, I mean, for me personally, it was a place to go where I knew very, very little, and everything I'm taking in is it's just all new to me. A little bit difficult in that you don't have that, I know this and I want to see this. Like I'm searching for Dominique Wilkins or Joe Sakic or whatever. But yeah, very, very enlightening. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Paul. We were there when we were at Hank Aaron's house.
Yeah.
Just that sort of a sense of what it was really like.
Yeah. The thing I remember the most about the Negro Hall of Fame was after you go in and you go look through all the old artifacts and the exhibits, and then once you're done, it kind of loops around, and then you come in and you're inside this baseball field.
Yes,
Yeah.
With 9 statues
Yeah.
of legendary players that you can just walk right up to them and like say, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah.
It was really a nice way to end the experience.
And I remember
just-
going and thinking, explaining to my son, because Buck O'Neill was that guy that it just took forever for him to actually get in the Hall of Fame for some reason. And he had just been enshrined and I believe he had to be enshrined posthumously. Like he didn't quite live quite long enough. He was like 98 or something when he died, and it just wasn't quite long enough. But he had quite a significant presence in the Negro League museum.
Yeah, I know. What I liked about it as well is, they show you everything about the Negro League of that time. They tell you when baseball integrated, and we always know that the Red Sox were the last to integrate, but New York Yankees didn't integrate until 1955. They tell you some of the stories about what it was like to be a Negro League player back then. Contracts, business cards, the hotels they stayed at, their uniforms, which a lot of those uniforms were a little bit ahead of their time compared to Major League Baseball. And then Neil Getty of Rush. Am I saying that right? He donated. Getty Lee, my goodness. Getty Lee of Rush.
Neil Getty. Oh, Neil Peart and Getty Lee. I think you combined their names.
I'm getting them mixed up. Yeah, Getty Lee donated his baseball collection of signed balls to the Negro League, if I recall right.
Oh, wow.
Which just seemed out of place that, here's this, rock and roll star from Canada. But yeah, it's fascinating. It's not big. It's not gigantic like, those big fours, but definitely time worth spending in a beautiful city such as Kansas City.
And not expensive either. It's very affordable. And like Dave said, you get 2 for 1.
$10, $12, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you say the Negro Baseball League, does it look at all the different leagues that came out?
Yes,
there was more than just one. There was several other leagues that ran that died, and then another one would pick up.
Well, you had the Negro National, the Negro American, and then even after baseball was integrated, you still had, you had the Indianapolis Clowns were still traveling. They became sort of a barnstorming, and that's something they talk about. Once Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, the Negro Leagues, died out slowly. I think up until the early 60s, you still had teams playing, but by that time, they were just barnstorming around, making money on the road. They weren't playing in the league. And I really wish they would have kept better records. That's the travesty. But sometimes, I've talked to some old former players. They would tell you, we would play a game in the afternoon and we would play a game at night. Sometimes we'd play 3 games. We would play in a park. We would play at a real stadium, or, we were just happy to play and make some money as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the way leagues and teams would poach players off of each other. I remember reading Satchel Page's not autobiography. I don't think he wrote it, his biography. and they would talk about how you would play in the afternoon for one team,
Yes.
get a call, or somebody would be waiting at the entrance to the park. You'd get in their car and you'd drive off and you'd play for another team in another city that night. Just and probably goes along with the lack of record keeping. There's just that the contracts weren't really kept up with. How are they going to keep up with something like statistics?
And they drew. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, they used to play major league ballparks, and they drew record crowds. And it's just amazing to think that you're an owner of a baseball team, your team stinks, you're in last place, and you're watching all these great African-American players. Why would you not want to put a couple of them on your team? But
Well,
again, it was a different era. So
the
I
Philadelphia
understand.
Stars would play, they had their own home field. And I forgot the name of the stadium, so forgive me. But then the Stars would move and play in Shibe Park on some nights. And the place would be filled.
Yep.
So I'm told.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the interesting things about the Dodgers is even after, they integrated and they had Jackie Robinson and they had some success, and everybody has this romantic, oh my gosh, the Brooklyn Dodgers, like how could they leave? Like they didn't draw that well, right? Like relatively speaking, the Yankees were drawing, 40, 50,000 and the Dodgers were drawing 20,000 at that time.
Yeah, and that stadium, you got to think about it. Everybody romanticizes about Ebbets Field, but there's this great book that I have somewhere here. It tells you how the bathrooms at Ebbets Field were just in such squalid conditions that they had to redo the women's bathroom because no woman would go to a game and use that bathroom. So a ballpark built in about 1912, what it looked like in the late 50s, I can just imagine how it reeked of foul odor.
Oh, like Wrigley Field is to this day?
Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah, we romanticize it, but you weren't there in the 1950s using the bathroom or walking down a concourse. It was in bad shape.
You guys probably aren't old enough to ever have to use a trough in a men's room, are you?
Have you been to Buffalo? Hello?
I have been to Buffalo. They didn't have a trough in Buffalo.
They had troughs when I was there in '99 at Ralph Wilson Stadium.
Oh, no.
You know what?
No.
When I was
They used to have when I was a kid, they had troughs at Fenway. And
when I was in Argentina, you would stand when you had to defecate in a bathroom. You would stand and do your business.
Nope.
I was about 12 years old. I'd rather take a trough. At least you get to sit down.
You don't sit in a trough.
No.
I mean, you can. It's an unpleasant experience.
No, you be like a trough
for number one.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Butler, the Butler Fieldhouse, Hinkle Fieldhouse had that. I think they may have replaced it.
Where was I? Not
too long
ago. In the Burlington in the Appalachian League. I went to use the bathroom. They had a trough there. I had to take a picture, show my wife. This is where I had to go to the bathroom when I was a kid. One of these with only 4 men standing around you.
Oh, yeah. They put the ice in there. They don't even put
Who's the freak taking pictures in the bathroom?
I was the only one in there, Dave.
I've done that. I've gone to a ballpark where the restrooms look very retro or Art Deco. Yeah, I'll take some pictures. But nobody's in there. I don't want anybody thinking I'm doing something nefarious.
But we're way off track again.
Nothing. That's nothing.
Troughs. Things we talked about in this podcast that were not on
defecation, urination.
Thank God I didn't live through the Spectrum trough days.
Bloody stools.
Ugh.
I used a janitor sink in the Spectrum one time. I told you that story, Dave.
Yeah, I remember. And trust me, they probably never knew the difference.
There was a line when I left the janitor's closet. There was a line to get in there too.
Yeah. You're not like I said. You're not the only one, and you weren't the only one that night or that year.
That was an REM concert, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they're Philly fans. What they know.
All right. Anyway, all right. Back to
Hold on a second. You just called the lead singer of Rush Neil Lee. Be quiet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Freudian slip.
At least I know who the hell Geddy Lee is.
Geddy Lee, I know. I was looking for a correction.
Neil Geddy,
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I never got into Rush.
In Rush.
Neil
Listen,
Geddy,
I had a buddy.
rocks.
I had a buddy named Brian Ferrara. He tried to get me into Rush back in junior year of high school. I was a big fan of the Chili Peppers.
Oh yeah, we had Larry Ferrari.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
Halls of Fame.
Hall of
What?
Fame.
Rock
Is
and
that what we're
Roll
talking about?
Hall
I
of Fame.
All right, let's
forgot.
segue. Let's
That
segue to
is
the Rock and
totally
Roll Hall
worth
of Fame.
talking about.
Hey, it's on my list. I've been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Cleveland rocks.
They got
That
Peter
was
Gabriel's
nice.
jacket
That was
there from the Lamb Lies
I
Down
don't
on
like
Broadway
the,
tour.
I don't like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Really?
It was cool.
Well,
Been
good.
there
I don't like.
twice.
I don't like Cleveland, so we're
I
even.
enjoyed it.
Cleveland
Have you
rocks.
been to the Country Music Hall of Fame then?
Where's
No.
In
Memphis? Nashville?
Nashville, of course.
Has to be in Nashville.
Nashville.
Excuse me, I said-
You know what? We went to the Country Music Hall of Fame, not being country music people at all, and we really only went to it for one reason because
Shania Twain.
because the
Roy Clark?
studio tour was part of it, and the
Roger Miller?
studio tour was amazing. You actually hop on a bus and they go and take you to this, old school Nashville recording studio. And funny enough,
Ladies and gentlemen, Conway
the,
Twitty.
no, it wasn't really about country music at all. It was Elvis's favorite studio. So they had this like giant golden piano that Elvis used to use all the time, and he wanted to take it, but they wouldn't let him. And our tour guide was amazing. She used to work for Dolly Parton, so she had about 1,000,007 stories. But yeah, the Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville is worth it, especially if you do the studio tour. They had the Reba McEntire dress there.
What is the dress?
The red dress that she wore to some award ceremony when everybody went, whoa. It's kind of like the Jennifer Lopez dress of country music, I think.
Meh.
Wow, that's a step down. I did see Reba in concert in Houston at the rodeo at the Astrodome, and she put on one hell of a show. So I love me some Reba, but I'll have to check out this dress.
My wife enjoys her show.
Yeah, no, her show was good, family, clean fun. But I have a Hall of Fame that you guys probably haven't gone to. It's the Indiana High School Hall of Fame, and that's over in Newcastle, Indiana, right off of I-70. Maybe about 15 miles, about 15 minutes north of I-70.
You sure about
It's
that?
a high school. It's a high school Hall of Fame, but it is amazing. It's $5 to get in, maybe $6 now. History galore, jerseys, old basketball hoops, old scoreboards, videos. It is very well done. It is very impressive, and I would recommend that over the stupid football Hall of Fame in Canton. That's how much I like it. And it's right next to one of the largest high school gyms in the world, if not the biggest, depending on who you talk to now. But, for $5-6, you get a nice little history of high school basketball. And you may not even be a basketball fan, but it's really well presented. I think that's what I like about Hall of Fames. If there is something in there that you may not be the biggest fan, like the Country Hall of Fame, I'm not a country fan, but if it's presented well and is a good value, yes, that's the key to making people want to come back and doing podcasts to mention your name.
Hey, that's exactly what I said about the NASCAR Hall of Fame earlier. I would go
Yeah.
back there, and you couldn't pay me to sit through a NASCAR race, but the
Yeah,
Hall of Fame
well,
I
just
really
like
enjoyed.
the Indy 500 Hall of Famer Museum is.
Oh yeah, I've been to there. That was a really interesting one.
It's nice because you got all the old cars, but
Right.
it's nothing spectacular. It's
I like
but
the
then
cars. Yeah.
yeah. I mean the cars, yeah, definitely. And then you can take a tour around the track, and there's other things inside the track. So that sort of combines everything. So that maybe that fits in the Cooperstown a little bit. You go for the whole element, the ambiance.
And
And it's a nice little part of town too. They fixed it up.
And Penske announced today that the Indy 500 will be with
No fans. No fans.
So does that
Maybe
mean you're
I'll
going to
go.
be able to watch on TV?
Yes, they made that announcement a few weeks ago. It's only the second time since 1957 they allowed fans to watch it during the 100th anniversary race because it was officially sold out. So, but see, that's a tradition here. People put it on the radio. They have their barbecues and their cookouts, and all you hear on the radio is wow, wow, wow.
Hey, how do you listen to that on the radio?
And he's going left.
Yeah. Where I felt like when I watch it on TV, I was like, oh, this gets me a little more interested in the 500. But that all started back in the 1950s, where baseball teams were worried about attendance, and the Indy 500 for some reason still thinks it's the 1950s, and Eisenhower is our president and Nixon's the vice president. So I mean, I'm glad it's going to be on TV.
Well, people may not know about the speedways. It's not an oval like the NASCAR ones. It's like kind of like a road course. It's
like an amoeba, yeah.
Yeah, it turns both ways. There's a golf course inside of it. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you can fit like the
YouTube.
Vatican City in there and Yankee Stadium and like 50 other stadiums. It's pretty big. It is huge. But it's not going to be the same this year without the atmosphere prior to the game. Yeah,
I would say that arguably races are easier to watch on TV without a crowd because you can't hear them anyway.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been saying this. I've been watching hockey for the last week and a half, and it makes no difference to me. I don't know, and I won't pretend to know as an athlete playing the game if it feels different. But watching it on TV, especially when Milbury's on and I can hit mute, it's the same damn thing.
Yeah.
Well, they're using the EA Sports kind of sounds, are they not? I know they are.
From what I heard, yeah, it sounds
stuff
like they're using the simulated sound, and when the team scores, I've found out though when I do unmute it that home team, visiting team doesn't matter.
Yeah, not really.
When anybody scores, they play the horn and the music, so it doesn't matter. There is no. They only use the home visiting team for what jersey who's going to wear it that night. But
we were talking before, Jake Muzzin got a bad hit and they had to bring out the stretcher, and it was creepy silent. Obviously it would be quiet in any case, but yeah, with nobody in the building, it was really weird silent.
I just want to shout out Momo Chan Jones. Momo's on, who said that she's been to the Baseball Hall of Fame and it was a lot of fun, and that she would also love to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I need to go to. And in my Rock and Roll Hall of Fame visit would say Beatles, Pink Floyd, Genesis, and I'll see you later.
I mean, I kind of downplayed it before, but it was interesting, and it's got to be. I've been there twice.
Do they still have that big, huge Pink Floyd display when you walk in with the wall thing?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Last time I was there, which was 4 or 5 years ago. So we were just talking about a couple of halls of fame that are in appropriate spots. Another one that's in a very appropriate spot is the Swimming and Diving Hall of Fame, which is located in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I discovered that one time. I was walking down the beach. I was 17. We took a family vacation down to Fort Lauderdale. And, of course, I'm 17 with my family, so I was doing everything I could to get away from my family. So walking down the beach by myself, and, hey, it's the Swimming and Diving Hall of Fame. So I paid whatever. This was 1983. Paid my $5 or whatever, went in, and don't remember a whole lot about it, except they had full-size Olympic pools and diving boards there. So you got to go up on the high dive, the 10-meter platform, and look down. And I don't know how people do that, man. That's the only thing I can really remember about that. That and the Johnny Weissmuller exhibit and the Mark Spitz exhibit were all I can really remember about it.
Well, if you want to go, I think, to the opposite coast, and go north, you can go to the World Golf Hall of Fame, which is in St. Augustine, Florida.
Oh, joy.
I never went in it, but it's there.
Okay, so talking about a Hall of Fame that would probably be in an unexpected spot, are any of you familiar with where the Tennis Hall of Fame is? The International Tennis Hall of Fame.
Nada.
If James Hilton is listening,
Newport, Rhode Island.
Yes, Newport, Rhode Island. The casino in Newport, which is actually not a casino. It's on Bellevue Ave. The cool thing about the Tennis Hall of Fame is you buy your ticket, you walk in, right in front of you is a full-size tennis court that you can rent and play on. And then if you take a right, you go into the museum. If you continue going straight, you end up in the casino, which is where the Hall of Fame tournament is held every summer. So there are probably a half dozen courts back there where during July, there's action going on in all of them. I've been to that tournament. It's really a lot of fun. So if you ever go to the Hall of Fame tournament, you get access to the Hall of Fame, you get access to the courts. Players are playing literally inches away from you. I remember standing on the baseline of one of the courts, and I played tennis in high school, so I thought I was stuff, and I'm like, I could probably start hitting these balls. Then the guy started getting serious.
Yeah, no.
And they're hitting them 90, 100 miles an hour, and they're picking the ball inches off of my nose. I'm like, all right, I take back everything I just said. But it's a nice experience. Not a very interactive. The museum itself is kind of small, but having the courts there makes it really cool. So that's in Newport, Rhode Island.
And sort of different one in a really kind of different location. The Canadian Football Hall of Fame is in Tim Hortons Field, which is the home of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They used to have it's bounced around a bit. At one point, it was at Exhibition Place in Toronto, and then and CFL fans would tell you that that's the worst possible location for it because, Toronto is not the strongest market for Canadian football. And then it was in downtown Hamilton. They had their own building. And
That's where I went to.
In the last sort of 3 years, it moved, and they have it actually in the club section on the club level at Tim Hortons Field. So you can there are some off hours where you can just go and look at it. There's actually no charge to go there.
Really?
So all the busts are outside of the club, so you can go and see your Warren Moon and Pinball
Doug
Clements and Jeff Garcia and those guys.
Dieter Brock,
definitely.
Love Dieter Brock.
And then if you go inside the club, which they'll let you do because it's just kind of a step in, they actually have the Grey Cup in there, and usually some artifacts. It's a little bit more of a rotating kind of deal. But it's not in a location that I ever would have guessed. Now, it makes a lot of sense. They don't have to pay rent. They don't have to do a whole lot of upkeep to maintain a building and all that kind of stuff too. So worth checking out though.
Okay, I was going to save this question for the end, but it seems like an appropriate time to squeeze it in. We're not going to talk about all the individual team Hall of Fames because we don't want to go that long and there's too many. Are there any team Hall of Fames that you've been to that have really impressed you?
Green Bay Packers. Definitely by far. Green Bay and the Cincinnati Reds. Those are the two that stand out. Separate buildings, separate admission. Both have great history, and they're just very well done. Once again, not a Packer fan, not a Reds fan, but my goodness, that definitely piqued my interest and was extremely impressed with what I saw there.
I was going to say the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. The St. Louis Cardinals isn't too bad, but the Reds is one, and I suppose I've been there about 3 times. My son being a big Reds fan, that helps. And they have one of the best assortments of sort of bronze statues. No matter what you think of Pete Rose, his bronze statue outside of Great American Ballpark is brilliant. Him sliding headfirst with the hair and everything. It's yeah. And they have a baseball for each. They have a wall of baseballs, one for each hit in his career. So they have a wall of like 4,100 and something baseballs.
Pretty impressive.
But they do treat it like a Hall of Fame too. They do have inductees and honored members and all those kinds of things too. But I really enjoyed that. Probably one of the most unique ones that surprised me was the Bud Selig Experience.
Oh yeah,
at Miller Park, or what was formerly Miller Park. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Miller Park. I'm calling it Miller Park.
It really shows, outside of Milwaukee, Bud Selig being the commissioner, and he was kind of goofy, and he was part of the whole contraction thing and a lot of labor unrest. But man, is he popular in Milwaukee, and the way they treated him, bringing in the Brewers from Seattle after they had lost the Braves. A little bit different scenario, but interesting.
Momo asked us in the chat, so I don't know the answer, so I'm going to throw it out there. What about the Cubs Hall of Fame?
Is there one?
Do they have one?
I don't know.
Is that Wrigley Field?
The Cubs have a museum now. I don't know if I would classify it as a Hall of Fame because I don't think it works that way. Like I don't think they have members and inductees and that kind of stuff. It's relatively new. It was part of the
Recent
big
renovation.
construction project where they have the big open space. It's in what was formerly a warehouse, like kind of across the road. The big team stores in there too.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can piggyback on what Dave had said about Bud Selig. Yeah, he is glorified out there. When Stephen Key went out to see a game there a few years ago, someone was crying after we watched the video presentation, and there's actually a hologram of Bud Selig, and he ends it with a thumbs up. So Steve, being the wise guy is, has a tissue, and he goes, "Here, do you need this?" She's like, "Oh, stop." I mean, I've never seen anybody get teary-eyed over Bud Selig. I was like, okay. I saw a different picture of this.
I mean,
man,
he's
dude.
certainly about 300 steps ahead of Manfred.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, in the city of
whole-
Milwaukee, you know why he would be a legend.
Yeah, and it
Because
makes
he
sense.
did bring
It
baseball
makes
back
sense.
to the city.
He brought, yeah.
A couple of team Hall of Fames I was thinking about. I don't know if this is actually a Hall of Fame, but Yankee Stadium, if you get a chance to take a tour, they have an exhibit with a bunch of different things in it, including a baseball from every player, autographed baseball from every player who's played for the Yankees.
Well, the stadium
From
feels like
a certain
a
date
museum.
on. And then you also get to go out and tour Monument Park, which is by itself a really awesome place to check out. The Baseball Team Hall of Fame I really enjoyed, in addition to the Reds, were the Braves. Now, I don't think they have the same setup at Truist Park. And Lloyd, if you're watching, you and I went to this together, so I should probably remember this a little better. But at
Send
Turner
your
Field,
hate letters to Paul, not me.
at Turner Field, they had a really nice Hall of Fame.
I think at Turner it was separate though, was it not?
Yes, it was separate. Yes, it was.
Yeah,
I must not have.
And the newer one, which does have kind of inductees and that sort of deal.
It's on the concourse.
It's on the concourse. I mean, if we're comparing ones like that, the Steelers kind of jumps out.
Yeah.
I think it's called the Great Hall.
Yep. Yeah, the Steelers. It's right there on the concourse.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive as well. But those are the ones that kind of jump out for me.
Well, and I don't want to sound like a homer here, but you've got to check out the Patriots Hall of Fame if you're in Foxborough.
Mm-hmm.
It's a separate building, 2-story, modern, interactive. They've got the snowplow there from the snowplow game. You can kick field goals in the snow like Adam Vinatieri did. You can make an interception like Butler did.
Can you fumble the ball and not have it called against you too?
You cannot do that because that was the rule at the time. There's movies there. It's really a well done museum, and I say this as
I have been there.
It's still done, but it is still very well done.
Yeah, and then like St. Louis Cardinals, who I don't like, they have a great museum as well. That's in the Ballpark Village. That is separate. Unlike Kansas City, that has it on the outfield concourse, which is very nice. Don't get me wrong, very nice. But I don't know. That's the thing. Like like even the Mets, when you walk into their gift shop, there's their Hall of Fame.
That's not a very well done one in my book.
Yeah, if you're a Met fan, it's awesome to see the stuff. But you're right, it could be better.
Sometimes
it should be better.
I would say that most times taking the stadium tour and then getting the Hall of Fame as part of that tour is really the way to go. I mean, we did that with the Reds. We did it with the Cardinals. We did it with the Royals.
Yeah, we did it with the Dodgers this past winter.
Yeah, I did it with the Dodgers. That's something that we sort of just picked up along the way. It wasn't something that we ever did a lot, but started picking up doing ballpark tours and
yeah.
All right, quick question then. Best ballpark tour you've been on?
Best one?
Wow.
Mm.
All right, while you guys are thinking, I will say
San Diego was really good.
San Francisco was a really good one.
Really? I was going to say that was the worst one.
Boston was the worst one I've been on.
Oakland
Boston was
Boston
the worst
was
one I've been in with Toronto. The Rogers Center tour was pretty awful. When we went to San Francisco, that tour was bad because of our tour guide.
Tour guide makes or breaks these things.
You get great tour guides, right? Like these old codgers who were ushers for 40 years or whatever, and they've got
No,
stories.
every secret ever of the
Yeah.
ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah. Rogers Center, we didn't have that. We just had some lady who did tours and really knew nothing. But at San Francisco, and my kids will totally howl at this. Everything our guy said ended with pretty cool. Pretty cool. So
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool there.
In the front of what's now Oracle Park, they have 24 palm trees. So this is how he goes out. 24 palm trees. Willie Mays, number 24. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, I've taken one ballpark tour. That's Safeco Field, what's it called? What's it called? It has a different name.
Is it T-Mobile now?
Yeah.
Is it T-Mobile? I thought it was. Yeah, I've taken a lot of football stadium tours, like Sky Dome and Superdome and the Georgia Dome. I think with the Georgia Dome, I was the only person on the tour, so this woman just took me to places you're not supposed to go to.
Wanted to go.
Cowboy Eagles, pretty cool.
We did Wrigley Field on a Sunday, and it was the first tour of the day, and there were people who were having mass. They were doing a mass
in Wrigley Field.
In Wrigley Field, yep. Like there was a priest down in kind of the inner concourse, and everybody was sitting up in a section, and they were having mass.
What's that prayer that somebody does to the baseball, Our Father who art in the bleachers, or something like that? Yeah. The only football one I can think of that I did was Dallas, and that was a really good one. You got to go with Jerry Jones's personal box, his luxury suite. You got to go down in the field. It was pretty good. Pretty cool.
We did Denver, which was pretty good. Minnesota was very good. Mainly because they were just all of these different sort of things, and like the players actually walk through like the super bougie club before they go on the field by design.
Is that the name of it? The Bougie Club?
Pardon?
Is that the name of it? The Bougie Club?
Yes, it has something, whatever Ziggy wants to call it. It's the Ziggy Wolf's homestead. But one of the unique things that was happening when we were there, it was on a March break trip, and they were getting ready for the Final Four. And the thing with US Bank Stadium, which is neat, is it's designed to look like a Viking ship.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a ton of glass.
Yep.
And the NCAA didn't like it. So when we were there, they were spending about $10 million to put opaque stickers, or I don't know what it was, on top of on this glass so that the light would not come in to the basketball game. And
they could put a
tour guide, he was like,
were they afraid it was going to like throw off the shooting background or something?
The NCAA with the Final Four is pretty ridiculous, almost as ridiculous as the Olympics.
So I was there for the X Games.
Something like that.
They had the X Games inside the building when I took the tour. So always something going on there besides football. So beautiful facility. Love it.
All right, guys. I wanted to wrap our Hall of Fame discussion with one Hall of Fame that Dave, I bet you've been here, but I bet it wouldn't be something that we think of, including a conversation like that. The Toy Hall of Fame in Rochester.
Oh, yeah.
Macho Man. Ooh, yeah.
Absolutely. I love that place.
I was actually kind of disappointed in the Toy Hall of Fame because you can't play with it much stuff there.
That's true. Although, if Dan was older, he would love the Toy Hall of Fame because he would just go and hang out in the arcade. And
the arcade was the highlight.
The arcade was amazing. My favorite part of the Toy Hall of Fame, definitely the display on the world's worst toys. Highlight of which,
I don't remember
lawn darts. The world's most dangerous toy. Lawn
we used to
darts.
play those all the time.
And the little inscription says that lawn darts are so dangerous that they will never be listed on eBay if you try and list like old school lawn, I know they have lawn darts now.
Yeah.
but
And those things were hefty. They had some weight
flat
to them.
ones. Yeah, the old school ones with the point, right?
Oh yeah, you throw them and they'd stick in the ground.
So many kids got hurt with those.
Or your
but
foot.
if you try and list those on eBay, eBay will take them off.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I have a friend who still has his set from the
Oh,
1970s or early 80s.
Yeah,
I don't know when they were
it's funny
officially
when
banned.
it's funny when you go to the inductee room because it's got the toys like, and some of the toys make sense. Like, all right, Monopoly is in the Toy Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So, okay, hula hoop, stuff like that. Then you got like stick. Some really weird stuff to go along with the classic toys. Yeah, the arcade was the highlight for me.
Yes, definitely the arcade was a highlight.
Yeah, any 80s era video game you ever want to see is there. You got to pay, but
good value though. Like you buy
Mr. Do?
tokens, and the tokens are, I think it's like $6 for $1.
Oh.
And the game, and then the games are less. Basically, to play a game is less than a quarter.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's
they were a
even
quarter
cheaper
back
than
in
it
the day.
was when you were a kid.
Yeah, they were a quarter. Then they
Yeah,
went
none
to
of these
50
like now.
cents.
Then when they got to premium games and it was like $1 for a game, it's like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Remember Space Ace when that came out? That was a little bit higher.
Dirk
But,
the
have you ever-
Daring. What was that?
Yeah,
That was
have you ever
Dragon's
gone to
Lair.
some-
Dragon's Lair.
Dragon's Lair was another one. Have you ever gone to some of these bars, like 16-bit, where you can play video games for free and drink?
Like
Those are a lot of fun.
No.
Yeah, we have some in Indianapolis. It's an arcade bar. You get a beer. All the games are free, as long as you're drinking.
Yeah.
They
So
don't bother you.
if you
Now,
ever
you
find
guys
yourself in Rochester, New York, the Toy Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah. And Dinosaur Barbecue.
Right? You know what? The Hall of Fame I've also been to, I forgot? The Mascot Hall of Fame.
Whoa,
I've
what's
not been
that?
there yet, and that's
That is,
2 hours.
if our correspondent
It's in
Eric
Whiting.
Hassman is listening, yes, it's in this way out of the way, drive through this industrial park, and this
Steel mills.
big pollution plants and stuff, and you feel like you're
Steel mills
back
of
in
northern
time.
Indiana.
And it's a little suburb of Chicago somewhere, and it was really disappointing. It's really Eric is listening; he's going to kill me, but it's geared to little kids. It's a little kid museum. It's
Oh.
like a children's
Well,
museum.
and then some of their inductees, like they have Boomer from the Pacers.
It's
really?
who's paid to be there, I think.
Really? I mean,
I think.
he does not compare to the Philly Fanatic or Mr. Met or even Felix the Cat. I guess Felix the Cat from Logansport High School made the Hall of Fame, which makes sense. He's been around since the 20s. But Boomer? I don't know.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
I mean, if you're into mascots, it's worth a check out, but I wouldn't put it at the top of my list.
enjoyed
I haven't been there yet.
I enjoyed the bobblehead. I guess
Yeah,
it was
in
more of a
Milwaukee.
museum. It wasn't really a Hall of
Yeah.
Fame, but yeah, the bobblehead
That's-
museum in Milwaukee. That was
Yeah.
that was a good lark.
Yeah, there's places like that all over. Like in Denver, they've got the ballpark museum. There's little places like that
Momo
you can
Jones
find.
says they have a barcade in New York City.
Yeah, barcades. They
No,
have
they're
barcades in different
popular.
places.
And I think Cincinnati has an old sign museum, old neon signs.
Oh, Las Vegas
That's
has
called-
that. I've been to that.
Las
And
Vegas,
Las Vegas
one.
has one too. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Cincinnati has something that Paul Lucas on UniWatch talks about. And like I said, that's very close to me. I don't know why I haven't. Well, I don't know. I'm going to be in Cincinnati in a couple weeks for baseball, so through there. So maybe
There's one in Fishtown.
maybe.
There's a barcade in Fishtown.
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 Yeah, in Philly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I know Fishtown.
Hmm.
So this would be the part of the show where we talk about any ballparks we've been to. Has anybody been to a real, actual ballpark? Mark has. Mark is ready, like jumping up and down, like me, pick
Oh,
me.
yeah. Look at that. The Pit Spitters of Traverse City. Well, it all started off with me driving to Lansing, which is about a little over 3 hours from where I live. And it was the first game of the Lemonade League, which you can look at the video review on Stadium Journey. You can also check out my review as well on Stadium Journey. It's all there. Check it out.
Great. Now I want
So the Lemonade League was created because the minor league baseball season got canceled. So the Lansing Lugnuts said, hey, let's make lemonade. We'll make the Lemonade League. So 7 innings, a yellow baseball, which I find fascinating. I'm not the only one. They've sold about 3 dozen yellow baseballs
How
so
to make them
far
yellow?
this
Paint
year.
them or somebody
No,
with a highlighter?
Rawlings makes a yellow baseball.
Okay.
They already exist, and they said they just happened to somebody saw that and said, "Hey, this would be a cool idea." So they weren't specially made for the club. They always had existed, and actually, Major League Baseball used them back in the '30s for a few games. But that's another story. Look that up. But
Easier to see in the twilight, maybe?
yeah, no, well, yeah, I could write an article on that. It's a good story. It's a good story. You should read it. You should read the actual story. Maybe I'll just post that up. I don't need to write it. But so the Lemonade League is at Cooley Law School Stadium, home of the Lugnuts. All the fans were sitting in the concourse area in the outfield. Only 100 people. I have to admit, it wasn't that exciting walking around an empty concourse, but the outfield area was really, really nice, packed with people. Everybody was sitting on chairs and benches. You really couldn't hear the loudspeaker out there. Some people complain about that, but plenty of food, plenty of drinks. And it was just nice to have baseball back again. So that was the only thing that I was going to do. I was going to drive there. I was going to come back. And I realized that I was 3 hours away from Traverse City, Michigan, which is this resort place on the lake in northern Michigan. And I said, what the heck? I'm this close. I'm not going to drive all the way back and then drive back again. So I went to Turtle Creek Stadium to see the Pittsburghers, who in that part of Michigan, they could allow up to 500 people to the game. So 500 people were at this game. It was sold out. And I had a blast. It was as if coronavirus was not happening. You had people in the seats cheering. You had promotions on the field. You had the mascot running around. They didn't have all their concession stands open, but it was more than enough to satisfy the masses there. They had like 2 bar areas located at the stadium, full of craft beer and spirits, and they have some kind of pit spitter punch that they're known for. You know, kind of the stuff you drink at college frat parties back in the day. God knows what's in there. One heck of a
Grain
good
alcohol.
time. Yeah, and the stadium looks like these cottages that you could find all over town. It doesn't look like any ballpark you've ever been to. It really stands out. They did a great job out there, and I love the name. I love the logo, and I'm glad I went to check out the Pittsburghers. I had a heck of a good time. And Traverse City, wow. Beautiful little town right along the lake. There's a pedestrian sidewalk there that you can walk and shop and eat and drink. People are on the boats. People are playing volleyball along the beach. One heck of a resort place. That whole northern Michigan is just such a very uncharted gem to a lot of us. And it's pricey, though. That's the only problem. Hotels up there about a squalid-looking hotel or a shabby hotel is going to cost you about $150 during the prime season. A nice hotel will cost you about $350. So it's going to cost money to go up there. Just that's the only bad part about it. It's not like you can just get a cheap hotel like I did in Lansing. I had to drive about an hour outside of town to stay at Big Falls, Michigan, which is home to Ferris State. So, you know, there's a will, there's a way. But beautiful scenery up there. It doesn't even feel like you're in the Midwest. It feels like you're on the coast somewhere. And
Big
it.
Rapids, Michigan.
Big
On the Ferris
Rapids,
State.
thank you. Yeah, Ferris State, which, you know, not a bad looking college campus as well. I took a drive around there. That's not too far to go to if we need any updates in the future when things get back to normal.
Go Bulldogs.
Go Bulldogs. What happened?
So I took a trip this past weekend too. Mine was not as enjoyable as yours, Mark. I went to a great place. I went to Glens Falls, New York. Now, Glens Falls is a great little city. It is a little city. It's got a population of about 14,000. It's not very big, but it's got a great downtown, great little downtown. It's got some brew pubs, a lot of great ice cream places. It's summer kind of resort town. Lake George is about 20 minutes to the north of it. Sarasota Springs is nearby. All that good stuff. The Adirondack Mountains. It's right at the beginning of Adirondack State Park. So a lot to do in Glens Falls. But I went there to go to East Field, home which was built in 1980 for the Glens Falls White Sox. At the time, this was a Double-A team in the Eastern League. Now, I don't know how many 80s era ballparks our listeners have been to, but in the 80s they didn't really invest a lot into ballpark design. Like the old parks, like that were built in the 30s and 40s, are beautiful, and they're brick and they're sturdy. And then in the 90s we got the stadium building boom with all the amenities and all the creature comforts. In the 80s, what they basically did, slapped a big bunch of bleachers around a baseball diamond and called it a day. And that's all that East Field is. It's 7 sets of bleachers that circle a ball field. So it's ugly as sin. And these bleachers look like they haven't been replaced or maintained since the 80s. So you walk on it, and, I'm kind of a big guy, so I'm walking on some of these bleachers, and the wood is going. And I'm like, and I was at the top taking some pictures for a Stadium Journey review, so I'm about 40 feet up in the air, and I'm like, this thing's going to collapse, and I'm going to die here in East Field, of all places. New York State is only allowing outdoor gatherings of 50 people right now. So we had about 50 people at the ballpark. Normally, this is now the home of the Glens Falls Dragons of the Perfect Game Collegiate League. Perfect Game League decided to call their seasons because of the coronavirus. So a new league of local players called the Independent Collegiate Baseball League set up shop in Glens Falls and in Amsterdam in 2 small ballparks. And they're playing 3 times a week there. So we went and saw the Glens Falls Independents and the Albany Athletics play. This was one of the worst ballparks I've ever been to. I mean, we found a nice seat. We found a picnic table right down by the fence, so we were right at field level. But it may be different for a regular Dragons game with a bigger crowd. They average about 1,000 fans a game. So it might be better, but as far as a ballpark, aesthetics-wise, 7 sets of wooden bleachers circling a baseball diamond. And it's used for baseball and football. Oh, the scoreboard out in left field, gone. They took it down last year, haven't replaced it yet.
Wow.
So,
and they have bleachers behind right field, correct?
In center field and right field, those are basically used for football. But if you wanted to, you could tootle out there and check them out. And they actually have plans to put in some real seats. They took 1,500 seats from Riverfront Stadium in Newark, New Jersey, which was just torn down.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're going to set up a little bit of a concourse and stuff. And so hopefully it'll look a little nicer in a couple of years. There's no timetable right now. They don't have the funds to do this renovation, but it's in the works. So hopefully East Field will look better. Not one of my favorite places, but you know what? Right now, I'll go watch a wiffle ball game in somebody's backyard, and I'll be happy.
That's exactly how I felt. I didn't mind driving 3 hours to go watch a baseball game in an 8,000-seat stadium with 100 people. You're desperate for baseball.
Yep, there were about 50 people. This was a 6,000-seat stadium with 50 people in it. So, to use Belichick's favorite phrase, it is what it is. I was just glad to be at a ball game. So that's all the trips we took. So this is where we'll wrap it all up. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Dan, where can our listeners follow you online?
You follow me online at DanLight83. And real quick, I want to thank Purple Flavored Trash, which
great nickname.
Great nickname, and it tastes heavenly. I can tell you. Not Corporal, Need Him, Momo Chan Jones, Aviator Girl, and Moderator Danny, and several others who were in the room that were not signed in, but we're listening. Thank you. Please come back next time.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Especially Purple Flavored Trash.
Purple Flavored Trash. I've had Purple Punch.
I imagine that it's probably better.
Yeah.
The trash, not the punch.
Did you let our listeners know where you can be followed?
Yeah, DanLight83. Sorry.
Awesome. Mark, how about you? Any trips planned for the upcoming couple of weeks? And
I like that he doesn't ask that he. Dan, you go anywhere? No.
Dan, we've been doing this show for 3 years. I know the answer.
I am. Yes. Well, no. I am planning to go to Florence to see the Yalls. They are in conjunction with the Lexington Legends on playing the Bourbon Barrel Series. So they have 2 teams in each ballpark, and they sort of intermingle. Hopefully I can get to see 2 of them. I do have a good buddy from college that lives in Lexington. So I've been meaning to make a trip there. So I probably will check that out. Maybe not this weekend. I'll be in Chicago with the family. And my wife said no baseball, which is a little bit irritating because there's baseball going on in some of those minor league parks. So probably 2 weeks from now. little less than 2 weeks, I'll be in Kentucky, and you can check that out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and on my YouTube page, Ballpark Hunter. You can find me on all those social platforms.
Dave, I know you don't have any stadium journeys planned because you're up in Canada. They don't let you.
There's nowhere to
There are no
go.
sports.
If I drive to Toronto, I could just listen outside the bubble and listen to hockey players come in and out or something.
Oh, I was going to say, you can't. The Blue Jays are not even in Toronto. They're in Buffalo.
No, and who knows? I don't even know if the Jays if the baseball will make it long enough for the Jays to actually get to Buffalo. But
What's the start date for them in Buffalo?
Who knows? Pardon?
Mid-August, right?
The 11th, I think, is their scheduled first game. But
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if
Baseball's
baseball's going
not
to make it
making
another
it.
week.
There's
they're
no
dropping
goddamn
like
way.
dropping like flies.
There's no way baseball makes
So
it.
yeah, not going anywhere. The literary journey continues. I just finished the Battle of Alberta by Mark Spector. That was pretty interesting. And Buck Martinez Changeup, where he acts like an old man and just complains about what sucks about baseball now. So that was fun. Paul, you might be able to relate to this one. So right now I'm into Bouncing Back, which is the story of the Toronto Argonauts from 1983 and how they broke their 30-plus year Grey Cup drought. So being a Red Sox fan, I know it was a lot more than 30 years, but
Well, I wasn't around for a lot of it, so.
actually, I think all your teams had significant droughts, did they not?
No.
No? I don't know. Bruins had a
Yes.
few.
Yes.
Who
Never mind.
cares? Who cares? Who gives a damn? Move
Hey,
on.
it's been a whole week since we won
Shut
the title
up.
now.
Shut up. Shut up.
Yeah.
It's
So
been
you can-
seven long days, Dan, since we won a cup here
Give a
and
damn.
a trophy in
Got-
Boston.
Buck Foston.
You can follow all of that. No championships here at the moment, although the Raptors look darn good. You can follow that at Profan9 on Twitter.
And you can follow my stadium journeys on Twitter or Instagram at PuckmanRI. And I do have a trip planned. We liked the Independent Collegiate Baseball League so much that we're going back next week. But we're not going to Glens Falls. We're going to Amsterdam. We're going to check out
Nice.
Shuttleworth Field in Amsterdam, New York, which is normally the home of the Amsterdam Mohawks, the premier team in that
He's going to
league.
have an Amsterdam good time.
Wham Bam Amsterdam, as Van Halen sang one time.
And we don't have that ballpark on our
No, we do not.
site. That'd be
the way
exciting.
The way they're doing it is pretty cool. They're not letting fans into the park per se, but they're renting out they place picnic tables all around the field, and you can buy a picnic table. So we got a picnic table of 4, costs us $40, but they give you $40 worth of food. So if anybody's in the Amsterdam area, I do have one spot left at my picnic table. If anyone's interested.
You could get a press pass and just walk inside and take some pictures and come back out.
I'm not doing it that way.
Good. If you want the real pictures.
That's it. I wanna experience like a fan would.
Yeah,
But again, follow me at PuckmanRI.
take a break.
Until next time, check out our website, stadiumjourney.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Stadium Journey. We got a Facebook page too. You can find the Stadium Journey podcast at vocnation.com or search VOC Nation on iTunes or Android, he tried to say, or any podcast aggregator. They all work. Check out our video simulcast of all of our podcasts on our YouTube page. And remember, well, some of you are already there. We simulcast all our episodes live at twitch.tv/StanLaw83. We will return in 2 weeks, and we'll be joined by Dustin Reese to talk about venues in the great big city of Chicago. Maybe we'll talk some Italian beef, too. For Dan Colachico, Mark Viquez, and Dave Cotney, I'm Paul Baker. Until next time, everyone, take care of yourselves and take care of each other.